Hey, you're listening to the Smoke Meat Podcast. I'm your host, Brad Pittman. Smoke Meat's brought to you by Joe's Underground at the corner of 8th and Broad in Augusta, Georgia, in the bottom of the Lamar Building. When you go into Joe's, they make you feel like family every time you go in. So go on in, have a good time, hang out with Jeremy and the gang, and just meet some new friends, hang out with old ones. Just remember, I goes to Joe's and so should you. That's Joe's Underground at the corner of 8th and Broad in Augusta, Georgia, in the bottom of the Lamar Building. Today, I've got a very special guest. I got Mr. Kenny Lee Lewis. Kenny played guitar and bass with Steve Miller. He played with the Beach Boys a couple of times. Played with Eddie Money. You name it, he's played with them, man. He's just such a great guy. Now, we had a really good time today, so I hope y'all listen and just enjoy. You're on Smoked Meat. Hey, so how you doing today, Kenny Lee?
I'm doing great, Brad. Thank you for having me on your show.
Oh, thanks for being on, man. I am digging this. I've been looking forward to it. But, oh, yeah. Yeah, most
Yeah.
definitely. For my people that don't know, there's probably one that doesn't know. I mean, you've played with so many people. I know you were with Steve Miller. Uh, I've seen where you've done Eddie Money, the freaking Beach Boys, and Brian Wilson.
Yep.
Uh, just a little bit of everything. I mean, George Thorogood, Bonnie Raitt. It's like,
Yep.
man.
Yep. Yeah, I've been very, very fortunate. I've had a wonderful career, and I wouldn't change a thing. And I'm just blessed. I thank the Lord all the time, and thank the Creator for giving me this gift and allowing me to have a propensity for playing, fretted instruments. Came really early for me in my life. I started on ukulele when I was about 7 or 8 years old. And I can't remember whether it was 7 or 8 because it was so long ago, but it was sometime around then. But I just had a natural ability to be able to mimic fretted instrument performances from other artists, and so I was able to kind of ape them for a while. When I finally learned how to read music, and got college stage band and learned how to play jazz, and eventually moved to LA in about 1973 and to become a studio musician.
Mm, very cool. Yeah, I would love to be able to play. About the only thing I can do is chicken pick.
Okay,
But
and smoke some meat.
yeah, definitely can smoke some meat. But yeah, man, I've never been able to play. My all my cousins could pick up a pine limb and a shoestring and sound like Jimi Hendrix. I mean, any instrument they want to play, they just start playing.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
that's the way I was. I used to drive all my friends crazy. They go, "How would you do that?" I said,
yeah,
"I don't know. I just feel it comes natural."
yeah. My daughter's the same way. She picked up a guitar and she decided she took it in. I think it was 10th grade in high school, ninth or 10th grade, and she can play. And
Wow. So
I'm
is she still playing? Is she playing professionally or anything?
No, she plays a little bit here and there. She's got a Fender acoustic electric that she'll play in her room. It's funny. I love being in front of people. I mean, if I could talk to 10 million people a night, I would. And both my kids love to sing and dance and do all that stuff, and they will not do it anywhere but in their room.
Wow.
They will not get in
Yeah.
front of
Well, my
people and
kids
do
are
it.
the same way. I mean, I've got two daughters that are both excellent guitar and bass players, and I've never asked them to play that, and I've never tried to make them do that professionally. So now they become artists. They're hand-drawn artists. My one older daughter, she's actually an art director at DreamWorks and has a show on Netflix right now. But my youngest is just finishing her degree as an illustrator, and she'll probably get pulled into the business by my older daughter. But they're more artists, hand artists, but they could play great bass and guitar. They just don't pursue it as a career, and
Yeah,
that's okay.
yeah. What shows your daughter got on Netflix?
She's got a show called it's a kids kind of cartoon animated show called Archibald's Next Big Thing, and it's on Netflix.
Very cool,
And I think they're just going into their second season.
because I'm always looking for something new to watch because I think I've watched everything on Netflix, Amazon, Tubi, Crackle, you name it.
Wow. Yeah, Archibald's Next Big Thing is the name of the show.
Very cool. I will check that out. But yeah, I love my kids, and it's funny. I feel like I've failed them as far as music goes because I'm that dad who I can tell I'm getting old because my playlist hasn't changed for the last 20 years.
Right.
And I can't remember where we were going. We were going somewhere one time, and Kid Rock came on, and they started calling him old man music. I almost stopped the car.
Kid Rock was old man music.
Yeah.
Well, that's probably because he was doing, the Sweet Home Alabama cover and all that stuff and morphing it. And
Oh, I think it
because,
was. I think it was Ball at the Ball.
oh, okay. So in
Yeah.
other words, even his rap and his his crossover hip hop was old man music. That's
Yeah.
funny.
And they didn't know who he was. I felt like such a failure as a dad. I'm like, really? Because my oldest daughter's into K-pop right now,
Oh,
and
okay.
that drives me insane. Which I mean, my music probably drove my parents insane, so I'm just getting paid back. But
Gotcha.
I'll make her mad. I'll ask her. I said, "Do you speak Korean?" Because most of them just sing in Korean, which is cool. Music's universal.
Yeah,
And
no, they're coming up as a another large artistic contributor to modern art forms of music. Obviously they do very well with classical music,
yeah,
but with the hip hop and the whole scene that they've been doing, and also they do R&B real good.
yeah,
Filipinos are the ones that are really good, though. I mean, they can mime anybody. The
hmm
lead singer for Foreigner, Arnel Pineda, is a good friend of mine.
hmm
Boy, could he nail Steve Perry? Because I grew up with Steve Perry in the San Joaquin Valley. We were friends and moved to LA at the same time. And
hmm
in fact, my wife Diane Steinberg was doing a record on ABC Dunhill in '77, and she was going to hire him as a background singer because he wasn't really doing a whole lot. And he ended up she ended up getting this movie and getting Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds role in the Sergeant Pepper movie with
hmm
Peter Frampton and the Bee Gees. And so she had to take that movie. She didn't tour it, so we could never use our band. So we had to let Steve Perry go as our background singer, who we'd hired. And he went back to Hanford and got into the chicken ranch business because he was so disillusioned with music. He didn't want to play it no more. and, and then finally, Herbie Herbert tracked him down and said, "Hey, you got to audition for this band called Journey." He went, "No, I don't want to do that. I'm going to raise chickens and have a real job." It was pretty funny. He had to wine and dine him and his mom in order to get him to come up to San Francisco to audition for Journey. Isn't that a funny story?
That is awesome. I love it. Oh man, yeah, just think, had that movie not, come out and your wife hadn't gotten in there, Journeyman never come about.
Yeah, yeah. Well, unfortunately, the movie was kind of a bomb, but the soundtrack did very well.
Oh yeah,
And she had sang three songs on the soundtrack, so she made some pretty good money. So that was good.
oh yeah. If you hear me cough, it's not on the recording. I pop my thing down. So
Oh, it's not recording?
no, whenever I'm coughing, it don't show up on the recording.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, I see. You edited it out, is what you're saying.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, cool. Well, what can I answer for you? You got any more questions about my career or anything? Or
Let me see. It's been such a long one, man. I mean, it just I say you started started playing professionally before I was born. Yeah,
really?
not very well. I was born in '70. You said '73, didn't you?
Yeah,
Yeah, I was.
73 is when I moved to LA. Well, I
Okay.
was actually playing professionally before then, but I mean, I moved to LA in 73 to really, really pursue, being a professional studio musician. That was my goal. I had some friends in Sacramento who had brothers that were living in LA at the time that were professional studio people, and they're the ones that kind of brought me in. They were called the Perry family, and they were originally from Stockton and San Jose, but they settled in Sacramento. And I went to junior high school with one of the youngest brothers who was a drummer. He became the drummer in my first band,
hmm
and he was the one that brought me into the business. His name
Okay.
was John Perry.
Okay. Well, I was two when you moved to LA then. Because yeah, like I
Wow.
said, yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
you're making me feel old.
No, you
Move on.
you moved there when you moved there when you were three. So.
Okay.
Yep. 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 But yeah, man. A lot. One thing I like to do on this show, I go over the things that the histories because I mean that's one thing that people listen for because that's just it is what it is.
Right.
And I learned from Fred Schneider. He was my one of my first
Who?
musicians. Fred Schneider from the B-52s.
Schneider, the singer.
Yeah, he was one of
Oh,
my
yeah.
first big interviews, and
Oh,
I prepped for this thing and I wrote down 3 pages of notes. I mean, just you name it, it was
right.
about the B-52s, and
Can I sing my favorite line from him?
you can.
Okay. I got me a Chrysler. It's as big as a whale.
And it's about to set sail.
I love that lyric.
Oh yeah. And I started talking to him, and he is such a nice guy. I mean, he is just a great guy, Just
I don't think I've ever met him.
he is cool. And when I started
Where's he
asking,
from? You know where he's from?
oh man, it's up north. I can't
Okay,
think
don't worry
exactly
about
where
it.
it is,
No,
but
I thought maybe you might know where he's from.
he's a Yankee.
Okay.
But I started talking about the B-52s, and he cut me off. He said, "Man, that's 40 years worth of history. Everybody can read that. Let's talk about now." I'm like, "Oh
Ah,
man,
he didn't want to talk about no rock lobster.
yeah." And I'm like, "Oh, this is going to be rough," because I hadn't prepared for a lot, and
Right.
it wound up being about a 20-minute long interview, but it was still really good. And he taught me,
Wow.
while we go over this stuff, we just kind of steer everywhere because it is what it is. I don't feel like I do interviews. I make friends.
Well,
'Cause,
that's very kind. Thank you for letting me be one of your friends.
yeah, because I could just get on here and go. So, Kenny Lee, tell me about your newest solo album, or
Ah,
in the nice radio voice, and that's just canned.
yeah, I've done those too.
Yeah, and you get tired of answering the same thing over and over and over because that just. Oh, I've listened to shows like that, and like when I listen to Howie Mandel on a podcast, I've listened to about 7 of them, and everybody asks him the same exact thing, and you can tell he is so tired of answering those same questions.
Yeah.
So, but I always have to fanboy out a little bit because I'm meeting heroes. Y'all are just
Well,
man.
you can do some more fanboy stuff. So, what other artists or songs have I been involved with that you might want to ask a question or
Brian Wilson, that musical
Brian Wilson?
genius.
Okay, so I'm doing a cooking show pilot in 1990. It was called Rock and Roll Kitchen. You
Mhm.
can actually look it up on YouTube. There's actually a theme song and a couple trailers for Rock and Roll Kitchen. And I was the MD, and I was one of the guitar players in the band, which was a killer band. And our 3 guests that we had for this pilot, we were trying to do a cooking show that had rock celebrities on it that would come on, play with the house band, and then cook a dish. And so we had Ginger Baker from Cream. He came and did some English pancakes. And then we had Mark Andes from Heart and Firefall and all those other bands he ever played with. I think he was also in, God, he was in Spirit, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, the third guest we had was Brian Wilson. He had just broken away from Doc Landy, and he had a psychiatrist friend of his who he trusted who drove him over to the pilot. And Scotty Page, who I'm actually playing with in about 10 days in
Scotty's
Pennsylvania
amazing.
on a gig we're doing. He played sax with Pink Floyd and
Yeah,
Supertramp, Toto, a whole bunch of big people. Anyway, he was really good friends with Brian from the LA, hang days because he was an LA guy. I was, born in LA, but I was raised up in Sacramento. So when I moved to LA in '73, I was kind of catching up with everybody as far as the LA scene. But he knew Brian, brought him to the pilot, and he did Surfer Girl, and he must have taken like 8 takes on the piece. Every time he was doing it, it sounded perfect. He just sounded wonderful, but he would stop right in the middle and go, "Nah, that sucked. I'm going to do it again." So he was kind of funny, and he had, like I said, he had just gotten away from Doc Landy, so he was just trying to. You spoke about your marbles earlier. He was just starting to get his marbles back, scrambled eggs, I should say, back together
yeah.
in his brain, and he started cooking a thing called Malibu chicken that he made. I think it had olives in it, if I'm not mistaken. But it was really good, and he really got into it. And his speech was articulate. He was very on point and focused. So the cooking made him focus on something and got him to come back to normal.
Yeah,
And that was the first time Scotty said he'd ever seen him really like come back to just being a normal guy. And since then, of course, he's done pretty well.
yeah.
So that was my experience with playing with him, was playing on Surfer Girl with him with this cooking show. So that's my credit with Brian Wilson.
That's awesome, man. Doc Landy did a number on him, man. That was.
Oh yeah,
But before I ever saw that movie, I read his book, and I'm like, holy cow.
yeah, it was trippy, no
Yeah,
doubt.
yeah. And man, Scotty Page. He was my 100th episode, and he is such an awesome guy. I love Scott. Yeah, yeah, definitely. And let me see. I know you had George Thorogood on there.
Yep.
You know, Guitar Maniac.
Yeah, he's funny, man. He's a good friend of ours. He actually was a good friend of Norton Buffalo's, who was our saxophone player in the Miller Band, who was a wonderful sax player from out here on the West Coast. And Norton passed in 2009, I believe, of lung cancer. And we did a benefit for Norton and his wife. Uh, and George came and played, which was great. And Steve, who still had Norton's famous, he had two maracas that he would duct tape together because
Mm.
he liked the sound of two of them at the same time. He ended up giving Norton's favorite double maracas to George Thorogood as a memorial, gesture, and he just was just so taken by that, and he was so. Um, every time I see him, he always talks about, I got Norton's maracas. You guys are the greatest. I mean, he was so funny. But yeah, George is a good guy. George did something one night that was really interesting. He was opening for us, and we started playing Gangster of Love, which of course is a Johnny Guitar Watson song. And he always wanted to play with Steve on that song. So he was just watching from the backstage, and he ran out on stage, jumped behind Steve without Steve seeing him, and he reached over the top of Steve while he was playing the song, and he grabbed the guitar off Steve and ripped it off Steve and put it on and started running around playing the song in the middle of the show. And Steve has always had a guitar on when he's performing. He doesn't know what to do when he doesn't have a guitar. He starts, sitting there trying to like act like Frank Sinatra or something. It's pretty funny, but he didn't know what to do because he loved George and he was just lost. And so he started trying to dance a little, move around a little. And of course, by the end of the song, George had already given the guitar back to Steve, and he profusely apologized for stealing the guitar off Steve in the middle of the show. But Steve forgave him, and it was a special moment in the Steve Miller Band where George Thorogood stole the show and stole Steve's guitar in the middle of Gangster Love. That was pretty funny. So that's a good George Thorogood story.
That's an amazing George Thorogood story. And that's
That's
the.
and it's on video. It's on video somewhere. I think you can see it online. I think it's on YouTube.
Oh, I know what I'm looking for here in just a little while. Oh yeah, that's the neat thing about getting to go out and perform is just the things like that can happen. Just little things that make a whole show, or give you such memories.
Yeah,
And you never know who's going to be at your show, and
yeah.
that's
You never
just
do.
you don't know who's in the audience, and that's the neat thing about it because doing stand up. I love getting out there and I love making people laugh. I've never really made any money yet. I think I made $50 at one show, but I have fun with it.
You're talking about as a comedian?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Well, hey, at least you can call yourself a professional. You made some money.
exactly, exactly. And I think it actually cost me about 300 to go down and play the show.
Ah.
But
Well, now you know what it's like to be a rock musician as a band leader. I mean,
mm,
I go do gigs all the time, and I end up paying my guys, and I end up, paying them out of my pocket because
yeah,
I just like playing so much. I don't mind taking a loss.
yeah, that's me, man. I just love making people smile. Any way that I can, I love doing it. And
Well, that's great. That's a blessing.
yeah, me and a buddy of mine actually went down to Savannah for the show, and the guy who booked me, he had a place that he called the Mansion, which I never went. But he said, if y'all want to, y'all can stay here. Don't worry about a hotel. And the vibe that he gave off was just so creepy. We got us a room somewhere, and
Wow.
I'm so glad that we did because when I finally met him face to face, he was just man. He was a weird cat.
Hold on just a second. I'm
Okay.
going to pop this lid off my steam cooker. Hold on just a second.
Oh yeah.
Oh, actually, the steam's still coming out. I got to wait. Go ahead.
Oh man. But yeah, but yeah, I would love to get rich and everything off doing it, but it's fun as long as I break even or I just love making people smile. And when I was on your website and I saw your philosophy, and man, that blew me away. Talking about talent and predestiny.
Yeah.
That.
Well, that's what I was saying about how like I was saying, I thank the creator for the propensity to play fretted instruments because that was a gift that was given to me before I was born. I mean, that was nothing that I learned or worked hard at, it was really easy for me. And that's like I was saying, like some of you look at some of your friends and you get frustrated because they can do it so easily. I was that guy, I mean, I just go, I don't know, I'm just picking up, man. Literally, I could pick up any Japanese or Chinese guitar and just start wailing on it. And people go like, wait a minute, I've never been able to get that guitar to sound like that. And I go, well, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, it's funny. I bought a, when I decided to start playing, I bought an acoustic electric. And what else did I buy? Oh, I bought an old, man, I told you I lose words and I can't believe an old Les Paul clone.
Yeah,
And it was the Japanese one. I can't remember the name of the company, but Fender, or not Fender, Gibson actually sued them because it was such a close copy.
probably Ibanez
No, it
or
wasn't Ibanez. It was, I can't remember the name of the company. It was one,
Ventura. Was it
I
Ventura?
think it started with an F.
Oh,
But
okay. All right.
it's an older one. But I took him over to his house, and he said, "Man, this is nice." And he started playing the acoustic, and I'm like, "It does not
Wow.
sound anything like that when I play it." And he's like, "Well, do exactly what I'm doing." And he showed me, and I did exactly like he was doing, and it sounded nothing like when he played it.
Yeah, there's a thing in the touch in the fingertips that has a spiritual connection with your mechanics,
Yeah,
biological mechanics of what you're made of, is where that connection happens. And there's some people that have it, some people don't.
yep. And I learned that I don't have the musical gift, which I'm fine with. I mean, I don't even sing much. When I sing in the shower, the water quits running. And
And I've done a lot of teaching over the years, and it's like when you teach, hold on a second, turn that
mm,
off. When you teach, a lot of times you'll have a student say, "Hey, I'm doing pretty good here, aren't I? Should I quit my job and become a musician?" And as a teacher, I can always tell if they have the gift, or as sometimes we call the curse.
mm-hmm.
Hold on just a second.
Okay.
There it is, guys. There's your shoe. I just popped the lid off the steam cooker. Sorry.
And the thing is, knowing what's in there, I can smell it right now, and it's killing
Oh
me.
man, it smells really good.
Oh
But
man.
anyway, when they ask me that and they go like, Kenny, do you think I should, try to pursue a career as a professional musician? I know if they have it or not.
Mm-hmm.
And if they don't have what we call the curse, which is the thing that I just described, which is like just a natural propensity to just master the instrument like pretty quickly,
Mm-hmm.
I just have to tell them. I said, no, I don't think so. I think you should keep your job and
Yeah.
just enjoy music as a muse in your life that is a healing, vibration orientated sort of application that you have around you in your sphere and in your aura and around you that just makes you feel good. And you just, I mean, even if you just get up in the middle of the night, take an acoustic guitar and just play a couple of little chords and just strum it and just let it ring into the night in the darkness, what happens is that your body will feel that vibration. It'll start to line up with that, and your blood flow will change from the magnetism and the different directions that the frequencies are promoting around your aura. And a lot of people don't know that that's happening, but that's a really nice thing to to subject yourself to, even if you can't play very
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Just the sound, it just bathes you with this really beautiful vibration that I think actually heals people. And that's why music's so important to all. That's why this COVID thing is so tragic, because now we can't get together and experience it together because we can't gather in groups.
Yeah.
So it's really kind of killed that part of our human nature, which is really a shame. And I'm not just saying that because I make money doing it. I know that it goes beyond the business part. It is a healing and wonderful part of our, not only our American heritage with the music we've created with blues and jazz and rock, but it is a, even in I don't know, in some Mongolia,
Yeah.
when they do throat singing and play their little guitars, they're doing the same thing.
Yeah.
They're just doing it a different way, but it's just as important.
Yeah. And I'm living proof that music does heal. I told you about the strokes and the bad stutter,
Yep, yep.
and I had what I called my cook shack, where we got the name of the show from. And I would go out there. That was what I felt like was my safe place, because being at home that long and being a paramedic for so long, and just finally getting the wind down, it brought a lot of PTSD to the surface also. So,
Wow.
so I dealt with both of those at once, and I was a mess. And
Wow.
I was out there. I had all my grills and my griddles and my refrigerator, and I had a surround sound system out there. Had lights, you name it, I had it. And that was just my safe space. And I was out there one day cleaning my guns, just because that helps me too. And I was listening to metal as loud as I could. And have you ever heard of a guitarist named Monty Montgomery? He's out of Texas.
Who?
Monty Montgomery.
Monty Montgomery.
Yes.
That sounds really familiar.
This cat is a beast. He did a version of Romeo and Juliet that Dire Straits did. It's got about
Huh.
a 10-minute solo at the end of it. He's the only one on stage. He plays it live, and he sounds like three people playing at once. And he is a
Yeah, I know
beast.
those guys. Now, see, that's something that I've always been. There's other people that are on another level, even from where I was blessed just as a young person. There's other people that can do that kind of stuff where they play like a piano player, where
Yeah,
they're playing left hand bass, chord accompaniment, and lead melody all at the same time.
yeah,
And somebody that would be a good example would be like Lenny Bro and some of the some of the jazz players, like George Van Epps and Johnny Smith and Herb Ellis, Joe Pass, and of course Wes Montgomery, the
uh,
all-time greatest. But they could do that stuff, and you go like, how in the hell did they do that?
yeah,
But I've never been at that level. I'm still trying to like woodshed Wes Montgomery solos. That's taken me all my life.
yeah. But no, I just decided I wanted to hear that, so I downloaded it, and I had tried to. Everybody said, "Do like Mel Tillis. He stutters, but he sings perfectly." And I had tried
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Nothing
it's
worked.
true. In fact, our monitor mixer in the Steve Miller Band worked with Mel Tillis for many, many years in Branson.
Yeah, and that just it never worked for me. So I was, I'd given up hope. And I was listening to this song, and I realized about 2 minutes in, I was singing it note for note perfectly. And it was so weird. I did that probably 10 times. And we were out in the middle of nowhere. We're out in the country where we were. And my wife was walking around in the yard just doing laps, getting exercise. And I frantically waved her over. She thought something was wrong. She came running.
Huh.
And I got to give her the first clear I love you she had had in 4 months.
Oh,
And, I sang that song probably 100 times in 2 days. and
wow.
and I sent him a message on Facebook, and it's funny. Here I was, mid 40s, sending a guy a fan letter, but he needed to know that he made a difference. I told him the story, and he got my phone number and he called me. I woke up one morning and I looked on my phone. It said a number from Texas. I'm like, great. Who do I owe money to from Texas? So I answered it and said, hello. He said, is this Brad? I'm like, yeah. Who is this? He said, this Monty Montgomery. I said, what? And he said, yeah, I got your message. He said, I started to just message you back, but I needed to hear this voice. And we talked for about 20 or 30 minutes, and it was amazing because that music helped heal me. So I'm a firm believer in that.
Yep. Yeah, it's a healing thing.
Yeah.
In fact, the book that I've written that's on Amazon called Skeleton Dolls,
Mm-hmm.
Children of the Tower, is about female twins, identical twins who speak in their own language. I don't know if you ever heard of twins speak, but if
Yes,
you Google it, it's a real thing.
it is, and
And
it's weird, but it's
I
cool.
met I met a pair of well, of course they'd be a pair of twins, and I met their mother, and she started telling me all these really interesting stories about when they were little, and all the crazy stuff they did, and singing was a part of it, and so I put frequency with a different celestial language with singing and frequency and in the book, which is of course a novel, these women use that into their adult life, and they're able to raise the dead and heal people and do all kinds of stuff. And it's not witchcraft. It's heavenly. It's the original language of God prior to the Tower of Babel being destroyed. Because if you read the Old Testament, it said at one point we all spoke the same language, and when we also could speak directly to God with that language, and it had power. But then when they built the tower and they tried to like become gods themselves, and he got angry and destroyed the tower and spread all the different civilizations throughout the globe and all the different languages that came from that language got lost. It was confused, as it says in the Greek version. It says the language was confused. So they just couldn't understand each other anymore. And that's when that language was lost. But in my book, it is still alive because there's a small coven of female practitioners that have kept that alive since the times of Merlin, because that's what Merlin was using when he was incantating, healings on people and stuff. He was using that ancient language. But the Catholic Church didn't want anybody else having that kind of power, so they abolished that language again when they came into the Britannia, and around I don't know, 700, 800, whatever it was, AD. So my book, Skeleton Dolls, Children of the Tower, uses that, and it's actually a trilogy. And so the book I have now on Amazon is available on both Kindle and hard copy. And I have a sequel, which is the second of the trilogy that I'm shopping right now. So
Mm-hmm.
in the meantime, people can read that first one, which is pretty cool. So that's available if people want it, both in Kindle and hard copy.
And now I got to download that tonight. Oh yeah, because I'm
But that's
always
all about vibration and singing and healing.
yeah, yeah. And we talked about the predestination again. You talked about you've just always had that propensity for fretted instruments. It's
Yeah,
it's
I was
funny,
just
with the comedy. Nobody ever told me that I didn't know how to be a comedian. With this show, the podcast, nobody ever told me that I didn't know how to do a podcast. When I was on radio, nobody told me I didn't know how to be on the radio. My video channel, nobody ever told me I didn't know how to make videos, and I've always just been able to do it. I don't know. It's strange, and like I say, I believe that that's a gift that I've got is to be able to
it is. It
calm
is.
people and talk to them, and I've never met a stranger.
Wow.
And it drives my wife insane. We were in Walmart one night, just went in to pick up a couple of things, and it was me, her, and my girls. And we were over near the garden center, and I saw this old man looking at a Blackstone griddle, and he looked confused. So, of course, I went over and talked to him. And 45 minutes later, I think I actually sold him the 36 inch and the 17 inch.
Wow.
And my wife and kids were just standing there shaking their heads, going, "Did you really just sell griddles for Walmart?" I'm like, "No, I helped that guy make good decisions."
Wow.
But yeah, it's just
Wow.
that's my thing. I'm a people person, and any way I can get out to people, I do because it's just nobody's ever told me I couldn't.
So there you go.
Yeah,
The language that you speak to yourself is the language that leads you on your journey to your destiny. And if you've talked to yourself a certain way, your ear hears your mouth say it, and it goes in a circle. It's in like a feedback circle.
yeah,
So that's where that comes from.
yeah. But I tell you, man, I'm having a ball, and I know that stew. I can still smell it. It's killing me. It is killing
Yeah,
me.
well, I'll be getting into it in a little bit, but I just opened the lid off the top, and I just told folks in there just dig in because I'm on talking to Brad of Smoked Meats, and
Oh
I'm
yeah.
having a great time. Thank you so much for having me tonight.
Oh, anytime, man. What is your if you could have one meal? Robert Wall asked me this one time when I was interviewing him. The guy from Bull Durham and Arliss and all those shows.
Yeah,
Uh, when I got him on, it was more like he was interviewing me because he asked me a
yeah.
boatload of questions, which was awesome. But he asked me a question that stuck with me. He said, "What is your death row meal?"
Ah,
I'm like, "That's a really good question." If you could have just one more thing to eat, what would it be?
well, you talking about just one singular thing, or you talking about like a combination?
Yeah, combinate
Are
what?
we talking surf and turf, or are we just talking one meal,
Yeah,
one
what?
item?
What's your death row meal?
Well, it would probably. Are you asking me?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, well, it would probably be a combination of a few things, but it would be definitely king crab legs with drawn butter,
Oh yeah.
and another one might be lollipop lamb chops. The loin lamb chop,
Oh yeah.
cooked Greek style with mint, of course,
Mm-hmm.
and that's because I'm Welsh and I'm British, and we love our lamb and we love our mint chutney and all that shit.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I would probably also think about a pasta dish. So it'd probably be something like a butternut squash ravioli with some kind of delicious, uh, I don't know, kind of a not a pesto, but something even lighter than that. or like a lemon butter white sauce from like Genoa or Tuscany, the northern Italian, style.
Mm.
So anyway, those would be some of the ones I'd be thinking
We sound like kindred spirits, man.
of.
When you come to Atlanta,
And you notice that red meat was not at the top, but the lamb was in there first. So it's
oh,
pretty funny.
oh yeah, when you come to Atlanta, all you gotta do is holler at me because you're gonna get fed.
Ah,
And there's
okay.
actually a place up in Buckhead called the Delray Diner.
Oh yeah, I
They've
love Buckhead.
Yeah, they've got a room there that is actually a satellite room for the Punchline, and
Ah,
I've played there once. And the night of the rehearsal, I went early, and I sat down, and it's an old Greek couple that owns it. And if I go somewhere that has lamb, I always get the lamb first because that's my benchmark.
you got to know how to cook it. It's
That
a very, very the reason why people don't like lamb is because nobody knows how to cook it.
These people know how to cook it. Oh
That's great.
man, that was the most phenomenal lamb I have ever had in my life. When we went
You
back for the
because you
show,
can mess up some lamb real easy.
oh
I know
man,
that.
you can make lamb taste like wet hair. Oh
And you
man,
don't necessarily want mutton. You want to have some spring lamb. You want to have the young lamb.
yeah,
You don't want it to get too gamey, and you don't want to overcook it. And you want to make sure that it's seasoned properly. Oregano and mint are two of the nicest things to go with lamb.
yeah. Oh man, these people they know lamb. It was amazing.
That's
When we went back for
fantastic.
the
And
show,
of
I
course,
ordered it
garlic.
again.
Garlic too.
Oh yeah.
That's great, man. Well, I'm glad that we're kindred spirits on that. All right. Do you have some British background in your family?
Let me see. As best I know, here's my background. Scotch, Irish, British,
Oh yeah. Well, then
Scandinavian,
you're a
and
lamb boy.
Cherokee.
There's nothing you can do about it.
Oh yeah.
If you're from northern Britannia, you're gonna have to have some lamb. There's no doubt.
Oh yeah.
There's people that I know that you just totally hate it. They can't even touch it. And I always ask them, you got some English in you?" And a lot of times they don't have a whole lot. They'll
Hmm.
be mostly German or French or you
That's my
know
wife. She don't like
something
lamb,
else.
and she's got German in her.
Yeah, yeah. The Germans are not big on lamb.
Yeah,
I don't know why. I don't know why it would make that much difference, but it just does.
yeah. But no,
That's funny.
I love it, man. I love it. Like I said, I love cooking. I can cook anything from plain ramen noodles to a 5-star meal. And with ramen, I can hand stretch my own noodles if I want to get fancy.
Yeah. Well,
So,
and how's your pant size? Is it doing okay these days?
oh, dude, I was a big boy to begin with, and being quarantined for this virus, other than going to work,
Yeah, I
oh,
know.
dude,
I know. I got to do a rock and roll show on video in 10 days,
oh man,
and I'm just like, trying to make sure I don't go too nuts in the next 10 days, just so I can make sure I'm not all inflated.
I understand. I understand. I'm actually trying to, put in for a promotion at work, and I might have subconsciously done it just to get new uniforms. 'Cause,
So, what else can I answer for you on the rock and roll celebrity bandwidth, or any other musicology kind of stuff related to why you want to be on tonight?
uh, well, let me see. What
Because we sure are talking about cooking a lot,
we
and
are,
that's
man. This,
I could go on and on about that.
like I say,
But
this thing steers itself all over. I've gone from talking about somebody's Grammy with them to Bigfoot in the same episode. So
okay,
it steers all over the place.
okay. Well,
Um,
I can go way out in outer space too if you want me to.
oh yeah. Well, I know you gear. I know you're mainly a Les Paul guy.
Not really, believe it or
No.
not. Even though we were using one the last couple of days, but my buddy was playing it. In
Hmm.
fact, the client that I have here right now is Steve McCartney. He wrote Wild Mountain Honey for Steve Miller, which is that really nice kind of sitar raga that's on the Greatest Hits album of Steve Miller,
Hmm.
and he wrote that. And he's here working on a bunch of new material, and I'm producing him. But he's playing all the guitars, and I'm telling him what to play. And I'm using my collection. I actually have a Les Paul,
Hmm.
and I'm having it play it. It sure sounds good, but I don't usually use one on stage that often.
Hmm.
I'm mostly a Strat and Telly guy.
You see, once again, after my own heart, I am a telly guy.
Yeah, well,
I
they're great,
I
man.
love a telly.
I didn't grow up with the telly, but I got one about 10 years ago that I really liked, and I just started using it. And it's like, I don't use it for everything.
Hmm.
Of course, it doesn't have a wang bar because I do a lot of Hendrixian kind of styles, and I use a wang bar. I use the tremolo, and so I still use a 1960 custom shop relic that I have. That's just amazing Stratocaster. But I use a telly quite a bit in the show, and then I just got a really nice 1958 reissue 335, and I'd rather play that than a Les Paul all day long.
Yeah, yeah. You know what's funny? My favorite telly I've ever owned was made by a company called AXL,
Yeah,
and
I've heard of them.
yeah, it was their Badwater. It was a knockoff of the Fender's Road Worn,
Yeah,
and it was
I
the.
actually my telly's not a real telly either. Mine's a K line from St. Louis,
Mhm.
and it is every bit as good as a custom shop telly you can buy.
Yeah, this thing I paid $100 for it in a pawn shop, and
Wow.
I loved it. I mean
Oh,
it was a cheap guitar to begin with, but just
wow.
the feel of it, the action was good, the tone was perfect. I mean it's one of those that man, and I hit a
No,
rough patch and had to pawn it, and that
hey, for
sucked.
$100 you can't complain.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, I wished I'd have never gotten rid of it. When
Oh,
when I worked in Washington County, it was about 50 miles from home, and if I had a really nasty shift on the way home, we had these two bridges, and they were called the Twin Bridges, and you could actually pull up under one of them and fish. And I would pull up under
nice.
that bridge early in the morning and get out my guitar, and I carried one of the Line Six pod beans, the
Okay.
little processor that goes on your strap,
Yeah.
and I had a little pig nose amp, and I would sit under that bridge and play for about 2 hours just to kind of get rid of the
Wow.
day. And that was my go-to guitar. I kept it in the car with me a lot of times.
Now, you just mentioned fishing. You
Yep.
didn't, I don't know if we've ever talked about the fact that I fish all the time.
Man, you got to get to Georgia, dude.
That's the other
I've
thing
got
that
a
I
pond
do.
full of catfish.
All right. Well, I mean, I'm fishing all the time. I have a cabin up in Montana. In fact, I'll be going there at the end of this month,
Oh, you're
and
killing me.
I fish up there for all kinds of different species. But I also fish the ocean out here in Morro Bay, which is Central Coast, California. So I'm either out there, or I'm up in the mountains, or I'm out in the Sierras, catching rainbows and browns and brook trout and stuff. So I'm fishing all the
Oh man, I
time.
love fishing. I tell you, a good sauce that goes on any kind of white fish is get some peaches and puree them, and
Yeah.
put an equal part of heavy cream in it, and 1 teaspoon, just a little bit of red pepper flake, just enough to give it a little bit of bite, and reduce that by about half, and use that as a sauce for your fish, and it is amazing.
Wow. That sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah. It sounds like Justin Wilson.
Oh yeah.
Remember him?
Oh yeah. I remember
Remember
Justin
Justin?
Wilson big time.
Yeah. What I'm gonna do. What I'm gonna did. That's what he say. What I'm gonna did.
we
I love that
we
guy.
gonna use a little wine.
Yeah, he was putting wine and everything. I just put some wine in my stew a minute ago, and
Yeah.
I was thinking of Justin when I did it.
Yeah. It's funny. Whenever I was young, you know, if I had bourbon or anything, oh, it was gone. Now I get a good bourbon and I cook with it most of the time.
Yeah, I put it in my coffee in the morning. I make Irish coffee with that stuff.
Have you had the Jesse James bourbon?
No,
Oh man, it's the lead singer from Jackal, Jesse James Dupree.
does it make you want to rob a train?
Oh man, this stuff is amazing, and it's a cheap bourbon. I think I pay $16 a fifth for it,
Well,
and
that's cheap.
yeah,
That's
and
pretty
it's
good.
really good. It surprised me the
Wow.
first time I bought it. I thought, okay, I'm just going to put this on the shelf because it was
Jesse
cool, and
James bourbon. Dang.
yeah, but I do a burger with it. That
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Now we're talking.
yeah, I've got a 2 by 6 inch round cake pan, and you put Saran wrap in it, put a little bit of brown sugar in the bottom, pack it full of hamburger, poke holes in it, and pour a shot of bourbon on it and let it soak in. Put some more brown sugar on it. Put it in your smoker for about 20 minutes, and then finish it off on a flat top or a cast iron. As
Yeah.
that brown sugar caramelizes, oh
Now,
man,
see, we got to be careful now with our age and our weight right now. That stuff is like what we used to be able to eat when we were kids.
oh yeah.
And it's like, have you tried the Beyond Burger, the Beyond Meat? I mean,
I have not tried them yet.
it's called Beyond Meat, and it's made out of peas, and beets, and they got a recipe with a certain type of little. They got a thing going on. I got to tell you, man, the sausage and the hamburger. I've been cooking with it. My family, who are not like big time vegetarians or anything, they are raving about it. I mean, I make a cheeseburger taste like In and Out.
Hmm.
I got meatballs I'm doing. I got sausages I'm doing. It's all Beyond Meat. And it's all vegetarian. And I got to tell you, man, if you crisp it just right, you fry it just right,
Hmm.
you do it just right. I mean, even when you make the hamburger, because the beet juice that's in it, you
Hmm.
can get it real crispy on the outside, and it even looks like real burger, and it'll be rare on the inside with the beet coloring. And when you eat it, you go like, "Wait a minute, is this meat?" Because the texture and everything, what they do with the peas and and the
Hmm.
skins that are on the peas and all the stuff that they do with it,
Hmm.
it's amazing, man. I'm not talking about the Impossible Burger.
Yeah.
That's the cheap stuff that you buy like at Burger King and
Yeah.
Carl's. I'm talking about this stuff is pretty expensive. I mean, it's like anywhere from $7 to $8 a pound,
Hmm.
like for just the ground meat part. But
Hmm.
man, for your body at this age, I mean, I'm 66 next month. I mean, I'm on Medicare now. I got to watch it. I can't just be like pounding all this, meat all the time. And if I do, it's usually organic.
Hmm.
But you ought to check it out, man. You can make meatballs. You can make spaghetti sauce. It's pretty amazing, and
I'll
the sausages are amazing.
I'll give it a shot.
Yeah, they
Um,
got a spicy one and they got a normal brat. Just get the spice. If you like spice, just get the hot Italian spicy Beyond Meat sausage. Make it in the morning for breakfast. What I do is I cut them down the middle,
hmm.
and I fry them on both sides so it gets crispy on both sides,
Hmm.
and it gets nice and chewy, just like meat. And my kids eat it, and they just go like, "Yeah, that tastes just like pork."
Hmm.
I go, "Yeah, there you go. It's going to be a lot healthier too."
So
Anyway,
I've
just
got a
just
sausage that you would like. It's chicken and sun dried tomato.
oh yeah, that's a good
Oh
one.
yeah, it's good. It's one that I just started doing a while back. I
Yeah,
love it.
that's a good one.
Yeah. But I'm ready to go. I'm ready for gun season to start next month because I love hunting deer and I don't have any deer meat in the freezer right now. So
We shoot them with arrows up on my property in Montana. We got whitetails, so many it's like rabbits all
yeah.
over the place.
See, I can't
But
stand and swing a bow and hit you with it. I
yeah,
just
well, my fortunately my partner up there, he's a dead shot. He takes those razor sharp points and he just explodes their heart so fast they don't even know they've been hit.
yeah.
They just kind of look at you and they just kind of go like, "What was that?" And then they kind of walk away a little bit, and then they bleed out and they lay down, and then it's so humane. It's
Hmm.
almost like halal, butchering. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, he's so accurate, and we only take spike bucks and dry does.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I'm I'm one of those people. I've never been a trophy hunter because it just to me I've never found a recipe for antlers.
Yeah.
And you know, I love to use every part of the deer that I can
Yep.
because to me it's respecting that animal. It just died so your family could
Yep.
eat.
Yep. We have reservations up there. We give all the parts to the natives up there, and they make all kinds of cool, instruments and clothing and just all kinds of trinkets and stuff. We never waste any of it either.
Yeah, and that's to me that's what gives hunters a good name. I can't stand it when somebody just wants to shoot for a rack and oh well that's cool whatever, but come on, use the deer. That's what
Yeah.
God gave
Well.
us.
Yeah. We do it for the backstrap.
Oh
That's
son,
all we're caring about.
hey, I'm all over some backstrap. And it's
Yeah.
funny, a lot of people don't like to use the ribs because there's not a lot of meat between them.
Yeah.
Man, I'll take the time and I'll use a fillet knife a lot of times, just cut that meat out from between them
Uh huh.
and scramble some eggs and just put those little strips in there while the eggs are cooking. Oh,
Yeah. As long as you get the tallow,
yeah,
the yellow fat tallow off,
yeah.
this tastes great. It tastes
Oh,
just like
yeah,
beef.
exactly. And it's better for you.
Yeah, it is. It's real low fat.
But oh, yeah,
Okay, we're talking about food again. Let's
we
get
are.
back to music.
We are. But oh, man. Like I say,
So anyway, you said you really liked the song "Rockin' Me,"
yeah.
which was recorded in 1977, and that was recorded somewhere between Novato and also a little bit up in K. Smith, up in Seattle,
Hmm.
and also a little bit at Steve's house in Grants Pass, Oregon. And that was Lonnie Turner, his original bass player on bass,
Hmm.
Gary Malaber on drums, and then Steve on guitars, of course. And then if there, I don't think there's any keyboards on it, but if there were, It might have been Byron Allred, but it could have been Joaquin Young. But that was recorded before I met him because I met him in 1981 when we did the Abracadabra album, and I
Mm.
wrote three songs on that album and helped him kind of co-produce that record.
I remember when Abracadabra came out, man. I think I was in middle school, and I mean
Yeah,
it was every other song.
it
But
was one of those songs that you either liked it or you hated it.
yep, exactly, exactly. And rocking
Fortunately,
me,
a lot of people liked it, and we made some money, so that was good.
yeah, rocking me. For me, that song just the zone that they sound like they're in when everybody's playing it, just that nice smooth just drive, and man, I love the way it sounds.
Wow. Well, is there anything else I can answer for you in terms of musicology or bands or celebrities or songs or anything?
I think that's got me, man.
All right.
You're
Okay,
welcome on
cool.
here anytime.
I have a jazz guitar record also
That's
on
right.
CD
Yeah.
Baby, and that's called New Vintage. It's on CD Baby. I actually need to re-release it with all of the different new mixes I have. I have some new mixes on it, but it's been up there for a couple of years, and people really enjoy it. And it's a smooth jazz instrumental record, and it's kind of like George Benson kind of stuff, but it also has some rock and roll kind of feel to it too. Because I love Terry Kath of Chicago. He was one of my
Hmm.
favorite guitar players, and so I kind of fuse, Wes Montgomery, jazz guitar, big box playing, with more of like an approach to like where Terry Kath was coming from. And that
Yeah.
was my style that I developed. But that's called New Vintage on CD Baby.
Yeah.
But other than that, I'm working on some new stuff that I'll probably have out soon. But my newest thing that I'm working on is my YouTube channel, which I have not really put a lot of the content upon, but that's I'm going to pursue that as my new venture to kind of reinvent myself so people can enjoy, my master classes on guitar and bass, recording, songwriting, master classes, and then a cooking show will be a separate channel from that, but it'll be connected.
Hmm.
And those are the things that I'll be talking about. Maybe even guitar repair, pickup installation, luthier kind of stuff. I
Hmm.
do that as well. And then fishing. So it'll all be on the one channel. So people just watch out for Kenny Lee Lewis on YouTube on his channel. That's what I call it. It's
Hmm.
just Kenny Lee Lewis if you want to subscribe.
Very cool. I will definitely do that because I'm always, like I say, I'm always looking for new stuff.
Yep.
And
And if you want to go to my website, it's just kennyleelewis.com.
you beat me to the punch.
Ah,
Oh yeah. Oh man, it's been great having you on here. I have dug it so much.
yeah. Well, you and I are going to get like have you ever eaten at Farm Burger in
I
Atlanta?
I have not.
Farm Burger is a little place that's right by the theater that's down by all the malls
Hmm.
downtown there. I can't remember the street it's on, but there's a upstairs, theater,
Hmm.
one of those real fancy ones that's right up above it. It's an American, I think AE or whatever, but it's one of those ones that have all the real fancy seats, and you can
Hmm.
order wings or the Caesar salad and have a cocktail
Oh,
while you're
nice.
watching a movie. Well, right below that is a place called Farm Burger, and it's an organic grass-fed, beautiful hamburger joint that you go up to the counter, but they got like collard greens and chicken livers. They got all kinds of stuff.
Oh,
You don't have to just have a burger, but
uh,
you customize your own burger, and they got real ice cream milkshakes there. Of course, I can't have them because I have a lactose intolerant. But my guitar player on my band, Jacob, he always makes sure he has a shake from there. But man, I make myself a gluten free, like goat cheese, manchego, grass fed cheeseburger there that's got everything on it you can think of. And then I get myself some collard greens and some chicken livers. I'm happy as a camper.
oh man, you're
That's
killing
called
me.
Farm Burger, and it's real high class, but it's just real low key. I mean, it's like a little patio out front where you can eat inside, but it's just you just go up the counter, you custom order, and then they just bring it to you. But I highly recommend that in Atlanta.
Very cool. Yeah, you come to Atlanta, man. We're gonna have to get together. We got some stuff to do.
I've been to that blues club too. That's kind of in that same neighborhood.
Uh huh.
It's a barbecue. You ever been to that blues club barbecue? They have blues bands. It's really good. I can't remember the name of it, but it's right close to where we stay. We usually stay at the old Ritz there,
Uh huh.
which was right in the middle of all those malls.
Oh yeah.
And we kind of walk over, where Elton lives in that high rise there. It's that same neighborhood.
Okay.
Yeah, I love that area.
Very cool.